started, baseball, and we played at a place called Recreation Field. It was up near, past where Heinz Field is now, up a little north. A wooden structure, 4,000 seats, burns down. So now they have to replace it. So at the time, this gentleman here owned the team, Barney Dreyfus. And in 1891, they replaced Exposition Field, and they replaced it closer to the river because they're thinking if there's a fire, we've got water, we can put it out. So that was a good idea, but near the river, there's flooding, there's bugs, there's mosquitoes. It was awful, and this is what it looked like, mud, always. They had a infield rule there at that ballpark that if the water was at your ankle, you played ball. You guys play Little League, water's at your ankle, you're calling your parents, come and get me, the game's canceled. So this is unique. This 1903 picture here at Exposition Park changed the face of baseball. This is a team here, the Pirates are in the back, the Boston team is in the front. Henry Caleo, who was Barney Dreyfus's really good friend, owned the Boston Americans at the time. Turns out the Boston Americans in 1903 finished first in their division. They have a guy by the name of Cy Young pitching. And our team finishes first in our division, in our section, in our league, and we had Honus Wagner. So the two of them are out and they're arguing whose team is better, analyzing why. And finally, I don't know if it was Barney or Henry that said, I got an idea. Let's play a game and let's see whose team is the best. And that was the birth of the World Series. 1903, first time ever, because of the egos of two guys couldn't decide whose team was better. Boston beats us in that series, but that's changed the face of baseball. That's the World Series was born right here in the city of Pittsburgh, I'd like to say, but it could also happen in Boston. So, but now Barney, he's getting tired of this muck and mire, and players don't want to come here. It's really a mess. Think about it. Baseball's only played in the day, not at night, and so they're forging on in that heat and bugs and mud, and it's just not a good place to be. So he decides he would like to build a ballpark away from all this North Shore, well, it wasn't North Shore, North Side. Actually, it was called Allegheny City, and get away from the rivers. And so he did. He moved up to Shenley Farms, which is now the University of Pittsburgh, up in Oakland, up on a hill, and built, but he didn't use wood. He used cement and glass and concrete and steel. And people laughed at him and said, nobody's going to come there. They need a wooden structure. Baseball's not played in cement and glass and steel. They called it Dreyfus's Follies. But for 60 years, people came there. And that's where I grew up, at Forbes Field, watching the Pirates play. So he brought his team up there to Forbes Field, and in 1909, they opened up the ballpark, and they win their first World Series. So that was a nice start. Another innovation happened because of necessity. And, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. You know the tarp that they put on the fields? That came from Barney Dreyfus. Again, here in this muck, they got an awning company to work and make a big tarp for the field, and then they carried it through to Forbes Field. So that tarp was the brainchild of Barney Dreyfus. So then so we're playing ball in Forbes Field, we're having a great time, we win a World Series, and it wasn't enough because they thought, the administration and Barney especially said, you know, what if we broadcast the game on the radio? Because the game's played in the day, you're at work, you're at school, you don't know what's happening to your team until you get home, read the paper, or somebody was there. So they had an idea, let's use KDKA radio and broadcast the game. Opponents said, oh, that's a dumb idea. You put that on the radio, nobody's going to come here to Forbes Field. But just the opposite happened. They broadcasted the game for the first time, 1921, in August. This is the guy that did it. Of course, he wasn't wearing a tuxedo at the time, but he was hooked up on the third base side at Forbes Field. As an experiment, let's see what happens. Broadcasted the game for the first time on the radio. And it took off because just the opposite happened. People were at home, listen on the radio, and hear the crowd cheering and crack of the bat, and think, oh, what's going on there at Forbes Field? So that started right here in the city of Pittsburgh. So I know you guys play in the day all the time. I don't ever understand that, how you get people there, but they're always sold out. They're always sold out. But you have the option to listen on the radio if you're at work. So this is Harold Arlen. He's the guy that did it. So at Forbes Field, this happened October 13th, 1960, when Bill Mazeroski put the Pirates on the map, beating the dreaded Yankees in the World Series. We were outplayed by them the whole time. There's the ball, there's Yogi Berra, and if I could blow this up, you could see tears down Yogi's face. We beat the Yankees in a walk-off home run of the World Series. Never before happened until right here. So we had a good time at Forbes Field, needless to say. It was a great ballpark, but it was time for change. People were moving and changing about and putting in those cookie cutters. So we had our cookie cutter.
Hey.
Philadelphia had one.
Very fair.
Cleveland, Cincinnati had one. Bush had one. A lot of people were having those, and it just made sense because it saved money. But it was a cold, stark, and that's where you saw the Pirate game at Three Rivers.
No, I never went to a game there.
Oh, you never did. You didn't get to the game. Well, you would have seen Three Rivers.
You're lucky.
Yeah, that would have been the thing 30 years ago. That's what you would have seen. So that opened in 1970. And people were happy to have it because Forbes Field had its moments, kind of like Wrigley. Wooden benches. There might have been a pole like right in front of you, and you didn't care. You just kept going back and forth watching the game. And then many great things happened at Three Rivers. Of course, the very first nighttime game of a World Series. Never before with a World Series at night. It took until 1971 for somebody to figure out if you put the game on at night, more people will watch it. You get more revenue. We'll get more product people doing commercials and advertising. It'll draw in a lot more money. It took them all those years to figure that out. I don't know if that was the brainchild of somebody in Pittsburgh or somebody in the MLB that said, let's put it on the TV. But it happened for the first time at Three Rivers. And then, of course, the great Roberto Clemente. We can talk hours about him. This is September 30th, 1972. And he's holding up the ball that happened to be his last hit. Hit 3,000. There were no more hits after that in regular season play. He dies in a plane crash 2 months later. So we honor him throughout the ballpark too. There's so many things that we tribute to him. And of course the great Willie Stargell. He was to open up where you came in the gate. He was to open up throw out the first pitch when we opened the ballpark in 2001, April 9th, and he dies the night before. So he never saw the ballpark, he never saw a statue, but we honor him throughout. And then one other great thing happened at Three Rivers, 1971. This is the lineup that Danny Murtaugh, he was our manager at the time, this guy. He puts in this lineup. And you look at it now and you think, so what's wrong with that lineup? Well, it happened to be the very first time in history of baseball, 71, that it is an all-minority starting lineup. And of course, he's getting a lot of heat from the press. Hey, Danny, you realize what you did last night. You changed the course of history here by putting in an all-minority lineup, because I really didn't notice. I just put in my 9 best players. And of course, the wild card here was crazy Doc Ellis, and there's crazy stories about him, what he did. That's our starting lineup, so hard to believe. And then we moved to PNC Park in 2001. It's a grand ballpark. It's just beautiful. And we also had a first happen here. Here's this picture of that opening day here. People came with Willie, his statue that's out there when he came in. They brought inundated him with flowers. The very first walk-off challenge of a game, a win. Starling Marte, this was 2014, May 6th. He comes into he comes into home, clearly safe. Calls him out. Clint Hurdle gets on the phone, challenges the play, and we win. Very first time that happened. I still can't believe that's going on in baseball today. I mean, the challenges, and it's kind of like, just play ball already, you know? But anyway, I have a movie to show you. Back up here. What we do typically in Pittsburgh, here at the ballpark, we take our guests into the locker room, into the clubhouse. but because the Pirates are here is why you are all here. We can't go in there today, but when you go into the clubhouse, we are one of 9 ballparks that allow guests in the clubhouse. And when you go in the clubhouse, you see all the lockers lined up with all the things. But, we're gonna show you a movie of what the clubhouse looks like, which was another reason why the folks wanted this ballpark. For the clubhouse space, we had 5,000 square feet at Three Rivers, and for the luxury boxes and all the add-ons that these ballparks provide, well, we did not have at Three Rivers. So, these lockers are what we had at Three Rivers. I wanna